Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Paul from the Money Mob. This is the Money Mob Black Business Podcast. I am here at Impact Brixton and as per usual, doing our live podcast. For those who are not aware of what we do, the Money Mob is a buy black crowdfunding, crowd purchase movement that uses group economics to support black business. So those of you who've been on our Money Mob journey, you know we usually target a business, and if it meets our criteria, we actually mob that business. And for those of you who've come to or not come to one of our money mobs, you know that each one who mobs a particular business has to spend £10 per person. And usually it's 10 people, 20 people, 100 people who will come and literally support that particular business. And in that way, we inject cash into the business, but also we make people aware of what that business is now saying. Now, we also, as well as doing that, we have our media outlets. So we have shows just like our podcast, we have radio programs, and now we're having a monthly program that's going to be on Colorful Radio, which is going to be fantastic. So, so you listen out in regards to that. And with that, I'm going to now let you know, again, as I said, where I am. I'm doing this podcast from Impact Brixton. And Impact Brixton is a Black-owned, conscious-driven co-working space that's based in the heart of Brixton, which is just lovely because it's just down the road from where I am. And it's a space for to register your business as a business address. It has offices, hot desking, event space, as well as meeting rooms and podcasting rooms, of which I am in, and as well as many, many, many more. One of the things I love about this particular place is also the vision of those who are actually running it. And over the next few years, they are literally looking to work and support thousands of people to realize their passion and also to impact the broader community, doing networking, education, as well as other programs. So those of you who are interested in, in regards to, getting a space for business. And in truth, probably this would be the opportune time to start making inquiries to Impact Brixton. Please make sure you mention my name, Paul from the Money Mob, and you will get 20% discount on membership. So just make sure you are aware of that. So look, I have the pleasure of having two of the founder members of Sovereign Comics, which is which, as I said, just the idea of that to me is just exciting, and I just have a fantastic feeling that tonight is going to be the night. So I've got Dean Richards here, one of the founders, and also I have Paul, AKA Phoenix, also one of the founders, and I got the young brother. What was your name again, brother? Ashton, okay. And I've got one of our young apprentice that is here also. That's going to be, I think they're going to be really, really fantastic. So look, I'm not going to get into too much. I want you to please introduce yourselves to our audience, make us aware of what you do. So so I'm not going to start. So I'll start off with Dean first, and then I'm going to start off with my man, Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm Dean Richards. I am one half of the original founding members of Sovereign Comics. The Sovereign Comics basically came about because I was working as a freelance artist doing CD covers and stuff like that, for different artists and stuff. And I came across Phoenix as a recording artist.
Okay.
So I ended up doing one of his CD covers. One was Quantum Leap. If you look back at his back catalogue, you'll see some of my work, but we were working remotely at first, and we sort of were talking together for about 2 years before we even met up in person.
Okay.
And basically, the first time we met up in person, there was obviously a connection there because we sparked off each other as creators. And I had previously done a lot of comic books in my time, as a younger artist. Ended up doing a lot of storyboarding and stuff. And by the time I met up with Phoenix Paul, I sort of came out of it for a little while. I was doing like visual effects and stuff like that. And on the side, I was doing a bit of artwork as well. So he sort of like re-sparked my interest in doing comics again. And, you know, the ball started running from there.
Jeez, it's serious. Thank you, sir. That sounds, as I said, it just sounds fantastic. And in truth, I actually wish I had more time to actually get into so many bits and pieces, because what you just said is just rich. But anyway, we're going to go on to brother Paul, also known as Phoenix. Please let us know, man. Give us an introduction. Let us know about you. Let our people know about you.
Well, you know what's very interesting about that is, you know, doing a musical project, my first CD being Baptism Under Fire, 2009, I put that out. It was the first time I had actually finished anything. It's the first time I actually started something and finished something. So me actually making that first CD, which Dean illustrated, it was not only, you know, it was a mixtape, but it was so good in terms of the packaging and everything and the artwork that people just took it as an album from 2009. And ever since the first time, for many years after that, I wouldn't work with anyone else like artistically on my work. So as he said, like that was the beginning, the spark of it, where I deeply appreciated the way he was able to illustrate and express these ideas I had in my mind. I used to draw. And the first thing I wanted to be growing up was a cartoonist.
Okay.
And when this idea of sovereign, the first kind of script kind of came to me, it hit me like a bolt of lightning. And, you know, I just called up Dean and I said, listen, I've got this idea. I don't know how you're going to feel about it and everything, but I have to run it by you. And I explained him the idea that I had, and he saw something in me. He saw something. And, you know, having no kind of experience with script writing or comic book writing or anything before, he saw something in me. And instantly, the one cell divided and it began to grow. And we've been, you know, he's not only a business partner, but he's a very, very, very close brother of mine. And it's so beautiful when you can mix business with pleasure, or business is a pleasure.
Wow, that is so important. I think that's something that, again, I think is really, 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 really wonderful and so beautiful as a point. I think more and more I'm meeting people who are saying the same thing, that the idea of being able to have, you know, people that they work with that actually, you know, really get on and really respect. So it's wonderful. So look, just give me an idea of, okay, essentially what, you know, in your mind, Sovereign Comics is. Because again, for me, who's grown up, you know, reading comics or working with people, you know, in comics, and I think, you know, I know it was such a, it gave me such an impression, left such an impression in my own life. So I just wanted to give an idea. Please give us an idea, you know, why, what was the concept, the mind behind this massive venture.
Do you want to take this one, Dean? Or we tag team? Do you want to start and I'll finish?
I'll make a little start. Well, where it began, it came from out of a singular story. And that story sort of encompasses the world that every part of Sovereign Comics is sort of, it lives under. So that came from an idea from Paul initially. And the thing that he mentioned about what I saw in that story is when I was studying. I studied film.
Okay.
Essentially, I've studied film and animation, but I learned how to draw from drawing comics. So I didn't learn how to draw in a formal environment. I basically learned how to draw from doing comics. So the idea that Paul brought to me, I recognized certain elements, archetypes within that storyline that you told me. Something that you might learn if you were learning how to do screenwriting, or if you learn about mythology. I saw all of those archetypes in the thing that he told me about. And knowing his background, as much as I did back then, wasn't anything to do with any formal learning that he came up with. He basically sort of like drew that from somewhere. And I have worked with other people who've come up with ideas, and nothing was as established or as meaty as what he told me then. So from where I come from, I basically learned how to draw from different artists, such as a lot of 2000 AD British comic book scene artists like Simon Bisley, a Spanish guy called Carlos Ezquerra, many people who were in the British comic scene. And that's not so much from the American comic scene, even though I was aware of all that. And I did collect a few comics here and there. What Paul brought to me was something that was a whole mythology, something that could be grown and expanded upon and stuff. But also my sensibilities are a bit more sort of underground, not so much Marvel and DC. It's more like horror, science fiction, and satirical type stuff. This is kind of like what the British scene was about. And that's something that when we talk, we have that sort of like those different angles that come about, and it brings out something new. I'll let Paul continue with that.
Yes, please, sir.
Love. First of all, I love you, bro. All right. So basically, in regards to Sovereign Comics, yeah, it's all about sovereignty. It's all about seeing every creed, every race, every culture, and every warrior archetype or superhero archetype as sovereign beings, as royalty within their own right. So that is the first part of like sovereign comics, that every culture is sovereign. Our mythology kind of binds all of these different warrior archetypes from Asia to Africa to the UK, all in one. So we touch upon different things that you may not even know that much about. Like for instance, we've got a character called Red Strike. Her name is Kajol Nandra, and she studies Shasta Vidya, which is a dying Sikh martial art. It's a martial art by the Sikhs, but it's dying out. So it's like we're reviving all of, like, so many. We've got over 100 characters. We've written over 40, about 15 different story arcs, and about over 40 scripts. So it's a well fleshed out universe. It's not a photocopy of Superman or Batman or anything like that. It's nothing that you've ever seen before. Mm-hmm. It's about celebrating all of the differences in our culture and cultures, and seeing them all as sovereign. So that's what our whole thing is about. That we have like a two-pronged approach to our business. So on the commercial side, we touch upon all of these different warrior archetypes, from our Maasai warrior character to our shaman character to our Shasta warrior Vidya warrior character, from sci-fi to horror to all of these different genres all packed into one thing, to doing education or edutainment. We touch upon the social sciences, and our stuff kind of fits within the whole PSHE section the curriculum within the school curriculum.
Yeah.
But you know, we're going to be touching upon all of that. So I'll mention a couple of things that we've done so far. So we're working with Liberty Lines. They are a group of 12 barristers. Is it okay to go in on this thing? Is that okay? Because it's promo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna. People are gonna know about it soon enough.
They're gonna
anyway.
know it's not a dirty secret.
Yeah, come on, you can.
Not a big dirty secret.
Exactly.
But me, I have to clear it with my business partner before I give me a clout in.
Exactly. That's right, brother. That's right.
So yeah, just might check on that. So basically, we're working with Liberty Lines, who they want to tackle county lines. We've paired up with Paul Mackenzie, and we've paired up with Liberty Lines, which is a group of 12 barristers from Harvard and Cambridge. And we, you know, at first they didn't really know how to kind of tackle the problem, you know, like there are a bunch of Harvard and Cambridge barristers, young barristers, and they're thinking, how do we put hands on this problem? And we said, well, boom, we had a meeting, me and Dean, we sat down at a meeting with them and said, we need to hit them with edutainment. We need to hit them, all these hardline subjects, we need to have an edutainment approach to it. So we're working on the comic book and the workshop with them. That's an example of some of the social science issues we're touching upon. We've also got a book on obesity.
Okay.
Which, we'll get into him. By the way, young Ashton, he came up with the character who is the mascot for our whole edutainment section, and he's involved. Yeah, he's the creator right here. He's Mr. Imagination.
Mm-hmm. So, Ashton, just quickly, I mean, what was the thing that, you know, was influenced you to create that character? What was the thing that made you think about this character?
Well, I had to look at the state of like what the world was at the time, and I think when I was young, I used to love cartoons, so I wanted to make a character what was very, very original, and he had his own aspects. And I think it was like maybe when I was like 7, my dad here, he came to me and he said, but the thing you're trying to make, I can make him be a character to symbolize our world in this comic book. And I was like, okay. And I kept thinking and I thought, what's a character that hasn't been used? New powers, has to be diverse. And I thought original, and I thought Mr. Imagination. And that was like the push for Dean and my father here.
Oh, fantastic. Now just give me an idea of his gifts or powers.
So basically his powers is, so his book, and he has a book and a pencil. So his book is from his soul, which he uses to, and his pencil's from his mind, what he uses to create constructs. And what he does with the constructs is, well, he can really draw anything he wants, and it's really up to him. And the fact that you have that kind of open choice to be able to do whatever you want is something that makes people think and be original about the things he could create. Yeah. So there's always something under the sleeve he may have.
Wow, that sounds absolutely fantastic. Ashton, thank you so much. We're going to get back to you again. Trust me. Okay. So, so give us an idea. When was Sovereign Comics created? What year?
We started thinking about the comics, I think, maybe 2010, 2011. So it's been like in gestation for quite a while. And the way it started was, we didn't have this whole idea about creating a business at first. It was very organic. It was very back and forth, you know, throwing ideas about between each other, between me and Paul. So say for instance, he told me the entire story of like the whole universe at first. like the gods who's in charge, you know, the structure of who is in charge in the fictional Britain that we have, and so on like that, just to make up the details of the story. And it kind of sort of like, oh, we need a character who does that. We need a character who represents this. Say, for instance, we've got a bad guy. I don't know if it's okay. I have to ask you to mention the bad guy's name. You've thought to sort. Basically, is we've got a bad guy called Minotaur, and it's kind of like usually we would see in a superhero story or comic book story something about the origins of Spider-Man. He's a good guy. He's the guy who gets bullied or whatever. But this is a total 180 opposite of that. So we're looking at a guy, like his mindset about why he commits crimes, why he becomes like a gangland supremo or whatever. And it's basically, that was one of the first stories that Paul completed as it might have even been one of the first and second stories that you completed, right? Yeah. And the way that he wrote it's like there's like techniques, because we also teach techniques of writing to youngsters.
Wow.
There are techniques that he did that he might not have recognized that he was doing at the time, but you can write from the inside out rather than the inside outside in, because like you've got internal conflict and you've got external conflict and so on and so forth, techniques of script writing. So when he wrote that story, it was evident that he was drawing upon like experiences that he had in the past, or like people that he might have known, and he put that all in the storyline. So we kind of built up the Sovereign Comics universe very organically, all the characters, and then basically we needed a way of bringing that out, because once you've created it, how are we going to get it printed up? Who's going to draw it? Because I can't draw everything. Who's going to do, you know, bits of the editing and so on and so forth. So there was a bit of a journey from that aspect as well. And Paul could probably tell you a little bit about how we started. It wasn't just me and him at the beginning on the business side of things, but that was a little bit of a journey as well. I'll leave that over to you, Paul. I'll let you continue with that.
Yeah, so what was it? What was it in regards to like our characters and stuff like that? Understanding a bit.
Yeah, you know that you were writing it, but you weren't physically starting off by writing the scripts alone. Yeah.
No.
So,
It was mad. It was mad how it happened, because it's like it felt very divine, man. It felt very divine how it happened. I'll tell you. Since we're all spiritual beings here, when that idea hit me, previous to that, I had never written a script before or anything like that. But so much information just hit me like a bolt of lightning. I remember going up to pick up my son from school. I get on the bus and I can't stop writing. I'm writing the whole mythology for the whole damn thing. I don't even know where it's going. I didn't even think of Dean at that moment in time as I'm writing it. It wasn't a preconceived idea. I'm writing. And I'm thirsty. I'm like, whoa, you know, have you ever been so thirsty you can't even get no spit in your mouth? I was thirsty. I was like, damn, I'm really suffering right now. I really need a drink or something. A guy from nowhere comes up to me and he says, do you want a drink? In fact, he didn't even say anything. It was just like, and I've gone, no, man, it's fine. And he's gone, I've taken the drink. He's got off. I felt like I was in like a bubble of energy and something was being channeled through. And all of these things, all of these ideas, we created the universe over a period of a good few years, but they just boom, 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 boom. They just come. It's as if it's actually that time of the reset. I had someone say to me before, there's no room in the whole comic book industry or whatever. There's no room and I shouldn't do it. And there is so much room because there is so much small stories that need to be told. So many ancestors and people who have passed before us that are trying to come back in the form of stories. Certain things need to be embedded in people's minds again, certain stories, certain messages. And before we knew it, we had over 100 characters touching upon so many different things, man. It just grew.
But remember
It just
at
grew.
first, we had a couple of guest writers as well. Yeah, a couple of people that had released comic books before, and had stuff in books and so on and so forth. But when Paul is telling them the stories that he's coming up with, they're not really getting the entire picture. They're not seeing how intricate they are. Thinking that they're basically, oh, this is another job kind of thing. Yeah. So eventually, it sort of came to us. We had to eliminate a few people, even like editors that we had looking at our work.
Yep.
Enough comics to where I could edit it. Yeah. Robin, what am I saying? Paul knows enough about writing to where that he can come up with all the storylines himself. Yeah. And it's kind of like taking on the responsibility of doing it yourself rather than leaving the responsibility to over to someone else. And this is before we came up with the idea of who originally came up with the name Sovereign Comics.
You did. I called. I think I called.
It might be Stefan,
No, it was you. No, it was you, bro.
Okay.
Because do you remember it was the actual first book. The first concept was going to be called The Sovereign something whatever, and we said what we need a name for the actual comic book company when we decided that we was actually going to do this. And Dean said Sovereign Comics. I said it fits perfectly.
Yeah, because it's about doing it yourself. That's part of the storytelling thing as well. The reason why storytelling is such a powerful medium of how to teach people about different things, like what we do workshops and stuff, but we use the framework of storytelling because traditionally storytelling is the way people would learn. They would learn through different means. And one great part of mythology is that a lot of the time you start with an inexperienced character. That inexperienced character has to go through certain hardships to get to where they need to go. And that is also like, say for instance, you've got a Harry Potter. He has to go and battle some big monster to win the prize at the end. I guess the same thing with a Luke Skywalker. He has to battle a Darth Vader to free the universe. And that's like those are universal things that are in all of mythology. And the reason why it resonates with all human beings is because there's something that is subconscious in every human being to where they can recognize, oh yeah, that's a universal truth. I have to do this and that to get the prize at the end. Yeah. So for us, as far as Sovereign Comics goes, for us to actually get the gold out of what we are trying to create, we have to take on a lot more responsibility and do what is difficult, but isn't really difficult. It's just taking that responsibility and running with it, and then we'll get something at the end of it. And that's like something that you can learn through storytelling, but also you learn it whilst you're running a company as well. You have to take on different things, and these tasks might be difficult, but you're going to get something at the end of it.
Exactly. Okay.
The hero's journey.
Exactly. Indeed. So look, we're now right at the end now. We've kind of run out of time, but I think that I can see that we can actually get. I can see us probably in the future having another talk, because I think this is what you're doing is really, really kind of quite beautiful. So
we got like 10 more minutes.
No, we haven't. Sorry. No, we haven't.
On your side.
Yeah, we haven't got 10 more minutes. All right. Look, let me know. Let me know if just give us your socials, where people can contact you, and let us know. Let our viewers know. About in regards to that.
Yeah. You can find our work at www.sovereigncomics.co.uk.
Okay. Fantastic.
And Paul, do you have extra ones?
Yeah, and you can find young Ashton, Mr._Imagination_2020. That's Mr. Imagination.
All right. Fantastic. And Ashton, I just wanted to ask you quickly, what's your ambitions in regards to the future? What do you see yourself doing?
Well, right now I've written a trilogy from Sovereign Comics for my comic books, and now I would say my ambitions is to just try to push Sovereign Comics edutainment side more through schools, so everyone can get noticed.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, we're literally now at that last question, and the last question is this, because this is the Money Mob Black Business podcast. So and this is the Money Mob question. So Dean, Paul, Ashton, if you were given one wish in regards to the Black community, what would that one wish be?
Or my one wish would be that people would learn about business. I mean, take a bit more personal responsibility and help each other, in whatever way you can to, have a little bit more personal power and freedom. So a good way of doing that, as far as I'm concerned, is learn a little bit about running your own business and entrepreneurship. That would be my one wish.
Okay. All right. You know what? We're going to have to actually cut it right now, because we've just now at the end. We actually will mention you, but I think we're literally at the end. Look, thank you so much, Paul, Phoenix, Ashton, Dean. Thank you so
King. Yeah? Your platform.
Thank you.
Thank you for your love.
No problem. So look, Paul from the Money Mob signing out here. And as I said, you'll see this on YouTube. Make sure you go online, Sovereign Comics. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, and make sure you leave a comment. But more importantly, subscribe. Paul from the Money Mob here. Remember, support Black business, support the Money Mob. All right.